All right, hi guys. We are going to start learning about the quadratic formula. I attached a worksheet that says 9.5 algebra notes at the top, and I just printed mine, but if you don't have a printer, just pull it up, or actually just use regular paper, because that's what I'm going to do too. So I've got it below here, but I've got my notebook over the top of it. This is the formula itself. It looks huge, and it is huge. If we were in actual classes, I would make you guys sing the song to me. So I'm going to teach you the song. I apologize because my voice is not that good. I was never a good singer, but the quadratic formula, it helps to know the song in case you guys want, when you're taking Algebra 2, to try to remember it. So I hope you guys have a good memory for singing. So I don't know why it doesn't say x equals. It usually is x equals opposite b, and I'm going to call that opposite b instead of negative b, because if our b term was already negative, this negative is going to make it positive. If our b term was positive, then the negative is going to make it negative. So basically, we just want whatever the b term is to become opposite. So x equals opposite b. This symbol is plus or minus, and we'll get to more of that in a little bit, but basically it means plus or minus. We're going to end up doing both so that we have two separate answers, something when it's plus and something when it's minus. So plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, and that whole thing is over 2a. Okay, are you ready for me to sing it? Okay, get ready. Here we go. X equals opposite b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So it's to the song of Pop Goes the Weasel, if you guys are familiar with that, or some other little tunes have been transformed into it. So I know that no one can hear you, so go ahead and sing it with me. It'll help you memorize it, I promise, and you'll need to memorize it for Algebra 2. Need to. So let's sing it together. Here we go. X equals opposite b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac. Can't write that fast. All over 2a. Okay, now that we've written that a million times, let's actually figure out how to use it. So on my paper, it says identify what is A, what is B, and what is C first. So we are talking about the equation. I'm just going to write this down. X squared minus 5x minus 14 equals 0. Okay, I'm going to move up my paper so you guys can be writing this down too. So the first thing we're going to do is identify what is my A term, what is my B term, what is my C term. Okay, so remember the A term is the number in front of x squared. It's not the x squared, it's the coefficient in front of it. So that would be a hidden invisible 1. So our A term is 1. B term is the one that's in front, the coefficient that's in front of x. So that is negative 5. And then you've got your C term, which is just the constant that comes at the end, and if you have it in standard form, and that is negative 14. We've already done this part before, so hopefully that looks familiar. Okay, now let's write down your little song. X equals opposite b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Okay, you guys better be singing that in your kitchen at home or wherever you're at. All right, we're just gonna fill in. I mean, this lesson is so easy. It's just that it's a long problem, but you're just filling in all of these B's that we don't know, all of these A's and C's and A with our A, B, and C terms. That's all it is. So X equals opposite B. So right now B is negative 5, so the opposite of negative 5 is going to be positive 5. Let's keep plus or minus there for now. The square root of b squared. So b is negative 5. So it is negative 5 squared minus 4 times a times c. And by the way, that 4 is there because it is called the quadratic formula. You guys know what the prefix quad means. It means 4. So that's part of why it's a quadratic formula. Okay, A and C. A is 1. C is negative 14. And then that whole thing is all over 2 times A. A is 1. Okay, there are no unknowns. We don't have any X's or Y's or Z's. We have all numbers. So all you're doing now is taking your calculator and crunching numbers. So let's start in. 5 is going to just stay 5 for now. Plus or minus, again, we'll get to that later. Let's do this whole thing. Negative 5 squared is negative 5 times negative 5, which is positive 25, minus 4 times 1 times negative 14. Actually, you could look at that as a negative 4 if you want. Negative 4 times negative 14, a negative times a negative. We're going to end up making this a plus because that would be a positive, but I didn't have my calculator ready. Sorry about that. So if we take negative 4 times 1 times negative 14, negative 4 times 1 times negative 14 is positive 56. So plus 56, and that whole thing is all over 2 times 1, which is 2. 2 times 1 is 2. All right, let's keep going. Branch it off even break it down even farther. Keep 5, plus or minus, keep that. Let's shorten up 25 plus 56. 25 plus 56 is 81. All over 2. See, you guys have to memorize this song. I promise it'll help. Okay. Can we solve any of these other parts? Yes, we can. We know what the square root of 81 is. So let's break it down one more time. 5 plus or minus, what is the square root of 81? If you don't know that for sure, let's turn your calculator and do the square root. And the square root is 9. 9 times 9 is 81. So we get rid of the square root because we did the square root. Square root of 81 is just 9. It's not the square root of 9, it's just 9 because the square root of 81 is 9. All over 2. Okay, here's where you have to turn it into 2 separate problems. We have 5 plus 9 divided by 2, and we also have 5 minus 9 divided by 2. So once you get it down to where all you have left is a number and then this symbol and another number and divided by whatever, you need to break it off into 2 separate problems, one where you're adding and one where you're subtracting. So I am just going to separate that out over here because I'm out of room. And I'm going to do one that's 5 plus 9 divided by 2, and I'm going to do one that's 5 minus 9 divided by 2. See how I just took this symbol and basically made it into 2 separated out problems. So I've got 5 plus 9, which is 14, divided by 2, and I've got 5 minus 9, oh gosh, it's been a while, negative 4, is that right? Divided by 2, and you're just going to solve both of these problems. So 14 divided by 2 is 7, negative 4 divided by 2 is negative 2, and let me tell you what this means. I'm not going to have you guys graphing this, but once you have solved it, these are the roots. These are the roots. These are like when you have a parabola, and this parabola may look like this. It hit at negative 2 and over here at positive 7. So can you have gone back up to the very beginning of this problem and just factored it and come up with the 2 roots? Yes. Yes, you could have. So this whole lesson is teaching you a new way to find the roots of a parabola, which we've already learned how to do by factoring. The only reason I'm teaching you the quadratic formula, the only reason I didn't say, hey guys, let's go ahead and factor this, is because sometimes problems like this are unfactorable. This one is factorable because we would have solved it and we would have gotten x minus 7, x plus 2, and you guys would have set it equal to 0, and you would have solved each one of them, and you would have got positive 7 and negative 2, which is what we got. But sometimes you can't do this part. Sometimes you can't factor it. It doesn't work. And in those cases, the only way that you can find where these hit, because sometimes they hit like in between or something that doesn't come out nice and neat, is by using the quadratic formula. In Algebra 2, they use the quadratic formula a lot, and they expect you to have it memorized. So that's why I have you guys singing the song. Okay, I see I only have 5 minutes left. Let's try example 2 from this worksheet that I linked. So I'm going to write down example 2. If you're just using regular paper, go ahead and flip to a new page if you need it. This is example 2, and it is 2x squared plus 13 equals 12x minus 5. Okay, before we can use the quadratic formula, you have to put it in standard form. So we really need to rearrange it to where it's equal to 0. So I'm going to minus 12x to the other side, and I'm going to end up adding 5 to the other side, just because I want all of this to go over here. So once I move it, I'll still have 2x squared. What would come next? This middle term. So minus 12x. And then when I add 5, that's going to be combined with my 13 that's already there, so that would be plus 18. And now it equals 0. Okay, so now is when we need to figure out what is my A, what is my B, what is my C, so that I can plug it into the quadratic formula. So my A term is 2, my B term is negative 12, and my C term is 18. And if you hadn't rearranged those, you might have thought that your your B term was positive 12. So be sure when you rearrange it, you know it's negative 12 now. Okay, here's our song. Ready? You guys need to practice. I know you just want to hear me sing again. X equals opposite B plus or minus the square root of B squared minus 4AC all over 2A. Okay, once we have that written down, you can start plugging in your numbers. So x equals opposite b, which the opposite of b is positive 12, plus or minus the square root of b squared, so that's negative 12 squared. If I'm going too fast, please push pause or slow it down or whatever you need. I'm just trying to go fast because I've only got 3 minutes left of this video before it cuts me off. Okay, minus 4 times a times c, all over 2 times a, which is 2. Okay, so we're just going to start solving this problem. You can forget, the x equals is fine, but you can just forget about it for now. So 12 plus or minus the square root of negative 12 times negative 12 becomes positive 144. Negative 4 times 2 times 18, I have no idea what that is. So I'm going to use my calculator, and I'm going to go negative 4 times 2 times 18 is negative 144. Interesting. Okay, we need to talk about this here in a minute. That's okay. All over 2 times 2, which is 4. All right, let's keep breaking it down a little bit more. We have 12 plus or minus. What is 144 minus 144? It's 0. The square root of 0, what number times itself is 0, is just 0. So we're going to have 12 plus or minus 0 divided by 4. This is interesting because when I come over here and branch it off into 12 plus 0 divided by 4 and 12 minus 0 divided by 4, 12 plus 0 and 12 minus 0 are going to be the same thing. So this is going to be an example of where there's only one solution, because 12 plus 0 divided by 4 is 3, and 12 minus 0 divided by 4 is also 3. So if you can remember what a one solution on a parabola looks like, I hope you remember it is where the vertex hits right on the x-axis. So anytime you have a number under the square root, which this part is called the discriminant, anything under the square root is called the discriminant. I'm not sure you need to know that right now, but that's okay. The discriminant, if you look at that and this minus this is 0, you know automatically there's always going to only be one solution. I'm going to stop the video because I'm almost out of time, but I do think I'm going to do a part 2 because we need to look at examples 3 and 4 from these notes. So go ahead and get ready for part 2, and I'm going to stop this now. See you in a sec.